Have you ever wondered what drives a person to change the world? To dismantle a system that stood for centuries and build something new in its place? Today, we're diving deep into the life of one of history's most fascinating figures, Gaius Julius Caesar. This isn't just a story about conquests and battles, it's a story about ambition. An ambition so colossal it shattered the Roman Republic and redefined what it meant to be a leader. So, who was Caesar before he became, well, Caesar? He was born into a patrician family, the Julii, who claimed descent from the goddess Venus herself. But despite their divine lineage, they weren't exactly at the top of the Roman food chain. They were politically and financially on the sidelines. Young Caesar grew up in a Rome rocked by civil wars, where powerful generals like Marius and Sulla tore the Republic apart. He saw firsthand that in this new Rome, military might and personal loyalty were the real currencies of power, not just a noble name. This environment shaped him. He was clever, charismatic, and incredibly ambitious. One of the earliest signs of this was when he was captured by pirates. Most people would be terrified, right? Not Caesar. He joked with his captors, demanded they raise his ransom because he was worth more, and even bossed them around. And what did he do after he was released? He hunted them down and had them crucified. This single story tells you everything you need to know. Caesar was bold, he believed in his own worth, and he was absolutely ruthless when he needed to be. His early political career was a masterclass in strategic maneuvering. He knew he needed three things to get to the top: money, influence, and a loyal army. To get money and influence, he threw lavish games for the public, racking up enormous debts but winning their love and affection. He knew the common people, the plebs, were a powerful force if you could win them over. While other politicians looked to the Senate, Caesar looked to the streets. But the real game changer was the first triumvirate. Imagine the ultimate political supergroup. You had Crassus, the richest man in Rome, and Pompey, the greatest general of his time. And then there was Caesar, the up-and-coming political star. They secretly joined forces to bypass the Senate and control Rome. It was an unprecedented power grab, a clear sign that the old rules of the Republic were breaking down. Caesar used this alliance to secure the governorship of Gaul, which is modern-day France. And this is where Caesar the general truly came alive. His campaigns in Gaul weren't just about conquering territory, they were about building an army that wasn't loyal to the Senate or the people of Rome, but to him, personally. He shared their hardships, he knew his soldiers by name, and he led from the front. His soldiers adored him. They would follow him anywhere. For 8 years he fought, he conquered, and he wrote. His commentaries on the Gallic War weren't just battle reports, they were brilliant propaganda, sent back to Rome to paint himself as a military genius and a hero of the Republic. He was building his brand, long before that was even a concept. Back in Rome, the Senate was getting nervous. Very nervous. Crassus was dead, and Pompey, once Caesar's ally, was now his rival. The Senate saw Caesar's loyal army and his immense popularity as a direct threat to their power. They ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen, where they could prosecute him. This was the moment of truth. Caesar stood at the edge of a small river called the Rubicon. Crossing it with his army was an act of treason, a declaration of civil war. The Republic had a law. No general could bring his army into Italy. By crossing, he was gambling everything. Legend says he paused, contemplating the monumental decision before him, and then uttered the famous words, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. He crossed the Rubicon. The civil war that followed was swift and brutal. Pompey and the Senate fled. Caesar chased them across the Mediterranean, defeating his enemies in Greece, Egypt, and Africa. He moved with a speed and decisiveness that his opponents simply couldn't match. It wasn't just about winning battles, it was about showing that the old guard was finished. When he returned to Rome, he wasn't just a general anymore. He was the undisputed master of the Roman world. The old model of leadership, where power was shared among a class of senators, was shattered. Now, power was concentrated in one man. Caesar became consul, then dictator. But this wasn't the temporary dictatorship of the old republic, meant for emergencies. He was made dictator for 10 years, and then dictator for life. So how did he redefine leadership? First, he centralized power. He controlled the treasury, appointed officials, and commanded all armies. The Senate still met, but they were largely a rubber stamp for his decisions. He was the ultimate CEO of the Roman state. Second, he based his authority not on tradition or senatorial approval, but on his military success and the loyalty of his legions. He showed that a popular general could bypass the entire political system. This created a new, dangerous precedent for Roman politics. From now on, the path to supreme power lay through the military. Third, he was a populist leader. He initiated massive public works projects, creating jobs for the poor. He reformed the calendar, the Julian calendar, which we still basically use today. He planned to build libraries and theatres. He wanted to make Rome a grand capital befitting its empire, but he also wanted to ensure the people loved him for it. He understood that the consent of the masses was just as important as the fear of his legions. But this new model of one-man rule was a step too far for some. A group of senators, who called themselves the Liberators, believed Caesar wanted to be king. The very idea of a king was a nightmare for Romans who had overthrown their monarchy centuries before. They saw themselves as defenders of the Republic, trying to restore the old ways. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, they cornered Caesar in a meeting of the Senate and stabbed him to death. They thought that by killing the man, they could kill the idea of one-man rule. They were wrong. Caesar's ambition had already changed the game forever. His death didn't restore the Republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into another round of bloody civil wars. Out of this chaos, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, emerged victorious. He learned from Caesar's mistakes. He didn't call himself dictator or king. He called himself princeps, or first citizen. But make no mistake, he held all the power. He finished what Caesar started, formally ending the Republic and establishing the Roman Empire. So, Caesar's ambition was the catalyst. It exposed the weaknesses of the Republic and created a new template for leadership based on personal charisma, military power, and popular support. He may not have intended to destroy the Republic when he started, but his relentless drive for power made its collapse inevitable. He was a force of nature that Rome couldn't contain. His legacy isn't just in the lands he conquered, but in the very idea of the powerful, charismatic leader who shapes history to their will. An idea that has echoed down through the centuries, for better and for worse. What do you think? Was Caesar a hero who brought order out of chaos, or a tyrant who destroyed a republic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into ancient Rome, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories from history. See you next time.